Here's some botched up extra bits. Fries on the side.
What's up? This is the Botched Up podcast for January the 20th. As always, you have me, Benito, and my good friend Basil.
A man called Larry Zabisco once said, Napoleon had his Waterloo, and the New World Order will have their sold out.
Fuck off with sold out.
Sold out, 1997.
The sold out is NWO's, maiden voyage. They're, their thing.
Yes, so this is going to be very interesting because I've got January the 20th, Nitro, 1997. It's the go-home show to Sold Out 1997, in which the NWO took over the entire promotion, except that it isn't, because one night after the Nitro that we're going to be talking about tonight, they had a Clash of Champions. The Clash of Champions 34 was on the Tuesday. They had Saturday night television show on the Saturday, and then they had Sold Out on the Saturday evening. So wait. So we got Nitro on Monday. Yep.
The 20th.
Clash of Champions 34 on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Saturday night's, whatever it was called, show on Saturday.
Thunder.
No, it was just before Thunder. So that was a 2-hour, basically, pre-show of C-list stars. And then Sold Out on the Saturday.
So there was 2 other shows.
Yes.
Between Nitro and the pay-per-view.
That really shows you, at this point, what Clash of Champions represented. It was the penultimate Clash of Champions before Clash of Champions finished.
It was the penultimate Clash of Champions?
Yeah.
What
but
year
that's
is
not
this,
what we're
sorry?
talking about.
What year is this, sorry?
1997.
Oh, so we got a long way to get there in our 90s saga.
Yeah. So, we love a little bit of WCW, so I thought I'd pick this one out. Cherry pick this one. So I kind of see this as steam train collectors.
Okay.
So they start with a little toy, a little train toy when they're about 6, and then they slowly get tracks, and each track costs them about £1. So they slowly build up. By the time they're about 45, they've got a complete steam train engine mechanism with little forests and
Sorry,
little
are
people.
you describing you and WCW?
Yes, right.
Okay.
And you come in from work, and your wife's like, I really hope you haven't gone to see that guy in Andover that owns all of those steam train magazines.
Mate, once the time you have a wife, she is going to be absolutely upset about the amount of time you spend watching WCW.
Right. So, in the same vein, I could have gone with Sold Out 1997, which is infamous for how terrible it is. I could have gone with Clash of Champions 34, but being the antique collector that I am, I have gone back to Monday Nitro before both of these shows just to see what it was all about, because I really don't think that this show is talked about too much.
Does it deserve to be talked about?
Well, I don't really know where to start, to be honest.
Okay, hit me with it. What have we got?
So we're broadcasting from Chicago.
Okay.
We've got a cold open. Randy Savage turns up and sits in a chair, and he's decided to boycott the show. From what I can work out, Randy Savage hasn't been seen since Halloween Havoc 1996. So Chavo Guerrero comes out to start a match. Savage shit cans him. Larry Zabisco says, I heard he was in psychotherapy with the monks of Tibet or something. He sits back down. Max from the Dungeon of Doom. I waited for them to tell me his surname. There was no surname. He comes out because he wants to start his match, which apparently he never had anyway. It never happened. He gets shit canned by Savage. Interesting thing about Max, he had horizontal sideburns around his ear. So it was instead of a sideburn going down by the side of the ear, it was sideburns going around the ear. So Savage shit cans him, sits back down. Ref comes up, Savage shit cans him. Head of security, Alex Wright, loads of jobbers. Savage just gives him a little punch and then just sits back down. Then Sting, and Tony Schiavone does the "It's Sting," and he descends from the top of the United Center. He looks badass, and he parts the sea of jobbers like Moses, which is cool. You can't be yawning yet, mate. I haven't even
I'm not yawning. I'm fucking controlling my laughing. I can't. What the fuck is this?
This
shit?
is the opening. This is the opening segment. Man.
I've been laughing for 3 minutes. I'm trying to control it.
Right. Anyway.
Okay, carry on.
Sting and Savage face down. Sting gives Savage his bat and then turns his back, and then you think Savage is going to hit him with the bat, and then Savage just throws the bat back to Sting's hand, but there's no shot of that, so it just kind of looks like Sting just retrieves a bat from midair because you can't even see Savage behind his back, and then they leave
Sting
together.
And Savage are partners?
Well, no.
Okay.
So apparently Randy Savage was having a little hissy fit about how he was boycotting the show because he wanted to speak to somebody in power. Sting came out without a word, said, "Hey, hit me with this bat," with his actions. Savage gave the bat back to him, and then they left through the crowd.
So who are they feuding against?
No one.
So who was he? So he was.
We get to
okay,
it.
we'll get
we
to
get
it.
to it. Anyway, so commentary is selling at this point that Sting is part of the NWO.
What?
And
Mind blown.
Yeah, and Savage is possibly joining the NWO with Sting through silent friendship. Then we get a 1 to 2 minute Alex Wright versus Chris Jericho match, and then we have Scotty Riggs versus Fake Sting. And I thought that the guy playing Fake Sting would unmask or something at this point, but it looked like he was an
You're not
actual
going to
character
unmask
for a
on the
while.
Go Home show. Come on.
No, it wasn't a real Sting.
No, I know
It's a fake
about
Sting.
the Fake Sting, but he's not going to unmask on the Go Home show, surely.
The point
Okay.
I'm making here is that we've just been told that Sting is part of the
Yeah.
NWO, and that he's potentially going to turn Savage to the NWO, and then we have an NWO Fake Sting.
Wait, so the Fake Sting is already in NWO?
Yeah, they call him the NWO
So why would
Sting.
Sting join the NWO?
Right.
Right. Carry
Yeah.
on.
So anyway, then Kevin Nash and Scott Hall.
Yeah, I'm gonna love it.
so-
I'm gonna love it when we actually get to this in our 90s saga.
I don't think we're ever
Well,
getting through it, man.
mate.
It's already been 12 minutes now. So we cut to an advert selling sold-out 1997 T-shirts in which Scott Hall and Kevin Nash call everybody a mark
Yeah.
and then tell them to pick up the T-shirts.
Classic.
Then Ric Flair is hanging around in black velvet at an ice hockey rink, and he talks about how Bob Probert of the Chicago Blackhawks is really cool.
Right. Okay, right. I'm going to stop you here. I've got sold out 97 up. Ric
Right.
Flair isn't even there. What's this all about?
Well, we get
We'll
there,
get
mate.
to it.
This
We'll
is
get
this
to
is
it. Fuck it.
This is an ever this is an ever evolving
Sure.
thing. I don't understand how they fit. So on this show, just to let you know, it's an hour and a half. It was before they turned to 3 hours. There was 10 matches on this show.
Jesus.
So we get Arn Anderson and Steve McMichael versus Eddie Guerrero and Jeff Jarrett.
My boy.
Sounds like a great match. Steve McMichael. He looks like Steven Seagal on roids. He looks cool. Anyway, Jeff Jarrett at this point is still rocking the country singer gimmick with the exact same costume that he was wearing in WWF.
This is before Jarrett comes back to tag with Owen Hart. Yeah, 98. So Jeff Jarrett is...
Yeah, I think he does that. Jarrett's had such a weird career.
Yeah, exactly.
98 was when Jarrett was feuding with China for the Intercontinental Championship. Anyway, Jesus, man, this is so confusing, and it's not even you. They have like a 4 or 5 minute match. Steve McMichael looks like a hoss. Like he's like a big boy gimmick that's way cooler than Jake Hager. It was a fun little match. There's nothing going on really. And then Ric Flair turns up suited and booted and screams "Brada!" And then he comes down, he talks to Mean Gene, and then Benoit and Woman turn up. Steve McMichael and Deborah McMichael, who's potentially having a gimmick where she's saving Jeff Jarrett a lot from McMichael beating her up, so they're probably going to team together. I don't know. This promo is completely fucked. Everybody's shouting, nobody's saying anything. Nobody is making any sense whatsoever. But this ends with McMichael insulting Benoit because McMichael managed to beat Jeff Jarrett up a little bit more than Benoit did. And then instead of Benoit coming back at him, Benoit just smiles, but not sarcastically smiles, just smiles, happy smiles, and walks off. Gene Okerlund is standing there like, what is going on? And then Deborah says that Woman, Chris Benoit's wife, is a big, hard woman with hips to match. And then McMichael pats Okerlund on the head and they all walk off. And those are the new Four Horsemen, and they're all very happy.
You've talked for 5 minutes. I don't understand a thing that's going on.
I've tried my very, very hardest to put that into the clearest language possible so I can tell you exactly what happened. So then we get the famous It's Hard to Be King promo with Eric Bischoff laying on a motorbike. And this is where I get really confused.
What? Eric Bischoff is on a motorbike?
Oh, no, this is a really famous promo. So he's laying on a motorbike and it's black and white in the old NWA style.
Okay.
And he's laying on a motorbike and saying, it's hard to be king. And it's become a really famous moment. Anyway, this eventually turns into Elizabeth holding the camera for Bischoff. She's filming him being cocky, which I assume is where the Savage thing came from. So I don't really understand why they're teasing that Savage would join Sting, who I don't understand is why in the NWO, if they're mocking him as fake Sting, joining the NWO.
Dude, I got no idea what's going on at this point.
It's very hard to follow. So, do you know what we do in preparation for Clash of Champions 34?
I mean, please tell me.
We put the same match on the night before on Monday Nitro.
Fantastic.
So we had Ultimo Dragon versus Dean Malenko to advertise Ultimo Dragon versus Dean Malenko tomorrow night. That went about 3 minutes.
Sure. Classic.
And then
classic booking.
There's something really interesting that I wanted to talk to you about. So Giovanni, the whole show has been talking about how it's hour one.
I mean, has Giovanni just been drunk this entire time? Because I would be.
He's having a great time. Okay. He's having a great
time.
Sure
he is.
This was peak WCW. This was before it went downhill, bro.
Before it went... Okay, go on.
Yeah. So Shivani continually mentions the importance of hour 1 and hour 2. And then they go to break, they come back. Shivani says, welcome to hour 2 of Nitro. They do pyro again. And then they cut to the commentary team who reintroduce themselves.
Is there a... in the UK, we call it watershed. I can't remember what they call it in America.
Yeah,
is there
I would assume it was watershed stuff.
Okay.
Not that anything particularly post-watershed happened on the second hour of the show, but I did find it interesting that within Nitro, they were trying so many different ideas at this point. They actually kind of reset the show, reintroduced everybody, got the pyro out again, to in effect make 2 shows in one.
Vince has redone that concept in the last year with Raw. That the last hour of Raw is post-watershed, and that they've tried to be more edgy in the last hour. So this idea of trying to be more adult-orientated is not new. It's from the 90s.
Do you think it could work?
No.
Seriously?
No. I mean, if you're watching a TV program, it has to be consistent all the way through. Otherwise, you're going to sit there like how I'm currently sitting here, like, what the fuck is going on?
So quick pace. We're on match 5. Jacques Rougeau versus Lord Steven Regal. Lasts a minute, no idea, shite. Then we got something really interesting. The Taskmaster Kevin Sullivan versus Chris Benoit. So this is also on another match scheduled for Clash of Champions tomorrow night. So I initially thought it was ridiculous. They go straight into the stalls and and I have never seen, Ben, a backstage brawl like this, where it was quite obvious that security and like literally no one in that building was prepared for the fact that they were going to go backstage. So you had 100 to 150 fans surrounding this entranceway, this, like back exit, and the wrestlers couldn't move. Jimmy Hart got lost in the shuffle. There was like one or two security guards being pushed around by about 80 fans. And they finally got into some toilet stalls and beat the shit out of each other. And there was like 20 fans in that toilet stall. And then there's one point where Benoit's wife, is actually genuinely hitting some fans with her high heels to try and get her and Jimmy Hart, who's obviously on the other side. He's the heel. And he's the face, sorry, and woman's the heel, and they're both holding each other while woman's hitting fans trying to get back into the stands. It was crazy.
Planned. This wasn't planned.
It can't have been, unless, I mean, the only other reason I can think of it is classic WCW, classic Eric Bischoff shit of just saying, let it go mental. Let's not tell the security guards. Let's just have all of these fans stacking around so it feels live and authentic.
Which, on paper, sounds fantastic.
Yeah, and it was a really, really cool segment, but incredibly dangerous, man. Like,
I mean, I feel like a lot of the Attitude Era was like that, where it was like the people in the know knew, but no one else knew.
Well, I mean, at one point, woman actually started shouting like she was not enjoying this whatsoever. You know, she I think she actually started panicking a little bit, and then they lost Chris Benoit in the crowd, and it was wild.
So is that a match worth watching?
It's a segment worth watching. It's only about 5 minutes. I think you would find it of great interest. But then, really difficult to watch, Kevin Sullivan gets a ring bell. And you know Chris Benoit's he used to do a diving headbutt. He goes straight into that fucking bell from the top rope. There was no kayfabe about it. He hit his head from 15 feet into that ring bell and basically knocked himself out.
Well, I mean, let's not talk any more about it, but that head injury.
But what was really interesting about this is where I think the mania of the whole episode came from. I knew that Kevin Sullivan had been married to Nancy Benoit for like since 1987 or something.
Yeah.
Like
sure.
It'd been 10 years. Apparently, Kevin Sullivan created this whole thing because to keep kayfabe, he was going into an angle with Benoit, and he wanted Benoit and his wife to actually share hotel rooms together, to go to restaurants together.
So this guy hated Benoit for real?
Yeah, so he caused the breakup of their relationship because he ordered Nancy to share hotel rooms with Chris Benoit for kayfabe's sake. And then in January, Nancy just started living with Chris. This is January the 20th. So this is literally probably the first week that Kevin Sullivan is dealing with the fact that his wife is living with Chris Benoit.
Okay, sure.
So that was a really interesting 5 minutes. That was worth watching. Then you've got about 12 members of the NWO turning up and taking over the commentary table. NWO by this point was already ridiculous.
12 members?
Yeah. So what?
So like all of them?
This was the thing, right? NWO is still pretty young at this point. And
97?
Yeah, and people like Virgil, IRS, Buff Bagwell, they're some of the more notable members. A load of NWO members turned up earlier in the show, and you know that I know most guys, and 3 or 4 of them, I have no idea who they were, and I didn't bother to look it up. I just had strange random dudes. I have no idea. So then you got match 7, Carl Ulay versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Kevin Nash calls Ulay fat and talks over Ulay's promo.
Dude, this is a fucking crazy show.
Jim Duggan comes out with a massive WCW flag. It's a complete mess. Duggan apparently is the face. And then as Carl Ulay is going for the pin, Duggan distracts the referee and the Steiner brothers come out and beat the shit out of Carl Ulay, and Jim Duggan wins and the crowd cheers.
Again, I'm looking at Sold Out. What the fuck sense does this make?
I have no idea, dude. We
Carry on.
have a DDP video package, which is talked over again by Kevin Nash, so we don't actually know what's going on or why. He just talks over it. We've got Squire Dave Taylor versus Masahiro Chono. Did I mention that New Japan Pro Wrestling was mentioned on this show?
Nope.
So, Squire Dave Taylor is in a hunting costume with a horsewhip because he's English, despite the fact that he's like one of the most cockney wrestlers to ever exist. But so Masahiro Chono has just joined the NWO as their like 28th member or something, and he has a go at his manager Sonny Ono for wearing a New Japan shirt, and he like tries to rip it off him because he's part of the NWO now. I don't know. Masahiro Chono looks like a real scary beast. He's just
your personal opinion. Maximum, how many members should be in one stable? Maximum. Absolute maximum. Like literally
5.
8, surely. 5. Between 5 and 8, surely, is maximum. 20? Ridiculous. To be fair, in New Japan, stables are different. In New Japan, they like everyone has an allegiance. So you have some guys that are like the major guys in a stable, and you have some guys that are allegiant to the stable. But I feel like there's only ever like 5 or 6.
No, but this is the point, right? You had your main guys. You had Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan. Then you had your secondary guys like X-Pac. Then you had
your mid-carders
like Buff Bagwell and IRS.
And then your curtain jokers.
And then you had literally you had your jobbers that I would not be able to tell you their names. And if I can't tell you their names, then they shouldn't be in the biggest stable in the world.
Why the fuck are they in NWO?
No.
Well, this is the thing. Like, you remember Main Event Mafia and Impact? It was like the top guys. Yeah. Like the Shield, it was 3 guys that were the top guys. No one else.
So with this Masahiro Chono match, Kevin Nash was like, "Yo, we need to get one of our guys down there to represent." So here comes Nick Patrick, referee, with a goatee and an NWO shirt on. So they've got their own ref now.
So NWO own refs. Actually, no, to be fair, right, this makes sense because I guess we'll get to it one day. But NWO owned half the company,
That's
right?
what they were trying to do.
And that was the point.
Yeah, that was the...
And that was the point, that NWO was trying to overtake WCW storyline. They were trying to become bigger than the company.
But there's doing that, and then there's allowing Kevin Nash to talk over people that he doesn't like.
Yeah.
Anyway, Kevin Nash makes a joke about a golden shower, and Chono wins. Booker T versus Scott Hall. With Booker T's with Sister Sherry. I assume she's called Sister Sherry because she's the manager of a black man.
Okay.
Commentary calls out the Royal Rumble 97 the previous night for being a mess of a pay-per-view. Booker T goes hard to try and get stuff over. Hall beats him within about 3 minutes. Then Nash makes a joke about Stevie Ray and Booker T looking exactly the same. Stevie Ray versus Lex Luger. Bischoff shouts, "Go home." And within 2.5 minutes, Luger's got Stevie Ray up for the torture rack. And the NWO referee calls for the bell. And Lex Luger is the leader of Team WCW at this point. And I was trying to figure out why NWO would pretend to have Stevie Ray losing for Luger to win the match. And then I realized, I looked at the amount of time I had left, and we are 3 minutes over an hour and a half.
Okay.
We are 3 minutes late without the main event segment, which is Hulk Hogan turning up. This is 8 minutes over at this point from where they should be, and they're probably asking the network to give them a little bit more time. If you're already 4 minutes over and you've got 3 minutes of extra time left, what do you do, Ben?
Hit me.
Take as long as possible to walk down to the ramp, get your pythons out, do a posing competition, and then...
Well, I mean, if you're having a fuck off with the network, why not fucking put your balls out?
I'm sorry, but Hulk Hogan starts his promo off by talking about a plane crashing last night with Ted DiBiase. They were in a plane and it was crashing. So instead of panicking, Hulk Hogan punched the wings out of the plane and used his 24-inch pythons to guide the plane to safety.
Punch the wings out of a plane? What the fuck are you talking about?
This was Hulk Hogan's promo.
Oh, it's not real. This is some shit.
Yeah, dude.
Carry on.
So you've got a minute left on the pay-per-view, and Hulk Hogan has talked about guiding a plane just with his pythons. And then he said beat the shit out of the Giant. The Giant runs out. Hulk Hogan says he's got a pimpled ass. The Giant gets stopped by security and screams, but not in a scary way, in like a 6-year-old tantrum way. Giant finally gets to the ring, gets beat up by about 10 NWO guys in the final seconds, and the show goes off air.
That's it?
That's it.
That's it, done.
That's your go-home show.
Can I walk through the pay-per-view that show built to?
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Because I'm planning on watching it at some point, because that go-home show definitely sold it for me.
Yeah, did it? Are you sure?
Oh, in a car crash way.
So we got Bubba Ray Rogers versus Hugh Morris in a Mexican death match.
Right, they weren't on the show.
Jeff Jarrett versus Mr. Wall Street.
That wasn't mentioned.
Buff Bagwell versus Scotty Riggs.
Scotty Riggs was having a feud with NWO. They mentioned that for about a minute.
Scott Norton versus DDP.
Neither of these guys were on the show.
Alright. Scott Steiner versus The Outsiders, which is Kevin Nash and Scott Hall.
So the Steiner brothers pretended to be heels while being faces, and got Hacksaw Jim Duggan a win against Carl Ule.
For the WCW Tag Team Championships. You see where I'm going with this, right?
Thus far, the only match that has been built up for about 1 minute was Buff Bagwell versus Scotty Riggs, and Buff Bagwell wasn't the guy that Scotty Riggs had a problem with.
For the WCW United States Championship, Six versus Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
For the World Heavyweight Championship, the Giant versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan said he had a pimpled ass and talked about his pythons guiding a plane.
So the Go Home show sold one match.
Sorry, was Lex Luger not on this show?
No.
He was the only guy that people kept talking about.
To be fair, the only person you talked about was about Chris Jericho, who was on a pre-show match, a dark show match. No, you said something about Chris Jericho.
Jericho had a 2-minute match, yeah.
And he was in a dark show match.
Wait. Benoit was on this pay-per-view.
No.
Ric Flair.
No.
Steve McMichael.
Ric Flair was... No.
Booker T? Stevie Ray?
Nope.
Jesus Christ, man. So this show sold nothing. This show was pointless. The longest segments on the show were the Four Horsemen with Steve McMichael and
None of the Four Horsemen show up. Benoit is not even on this pay-per-view.
Benoit and Kevin Sullivan was the other main show. And Randy Savage and Sting.
Sting?
That was the main
Fuck me!
segment.
Sting is the John Cena of WCW, right? Not even on this pay-per-view.
Randy Savage and Sting was the main segment.
Right, well, I don't know what the fuck they're doing, man. But this was an absolute dire of a show.
It was fun.
Wow,
it was fun, though.
I'm great. But, I mean, off that show, I would not have bought a pay-per-view.
I think I did a much better job of trying to recap that Nitro show than they did of attempting to write it.
Alright, until next time, keep it butched up, my friends. This week on the podcast, we've got the best of 2020. We've already done the worst of. Okay.
Like, share, and subscribe to keep it botched up, brother.